One night, one stranger, one fire. The Jackie Vandagriff case. The fire by the lake. Before we dive in, remember, every click, every like, every subscribe keeps these real stories alive. Because the truth, it doesn't stay buried forever. It started with smoke. At 6:27 a.m. on a quiet September morning, a jogger passing through Acorn Woods Park near Grapevine Lake noticed an orange flicker through the trees. He thought it was a campfire, someone maybe breaking the rules. But as he got closer, the smell wasn't wood. It was chemical, sharp, heavy. By the time firefighters arrived, the blaze had almost burned itself out. What was left behind didn't look like anything human. Just a melted blue plastic pool, blackened earth, and the remains of something so charred that investigators couldn't tell if it was a mannequin or a person. When the lab results came back, the prints matched Jackie Vandagriff, a 24-year-old college student from Denton, Texas. A name that meant nothing to detectives that morning, but would soon unravel a trail of obsession, stalking, and a night that should have been ordinary. Jackie was the kind of person who made friends in grocery lines, outgoing, always smiling, and full of plans. Her classmates at Texas Woman's University said she wanted to start a wellness company, something about helping people feel better inside and out. Her last social media post was cheerful, nothing out of place. Just a tweet about heading out for a drink after a long day of classes. Glad I decided to get off Tinder and just go out for once. That would be the last thing she ever posted. Detective Maria Holt stared at the charred remains photo on her desk. She'd seen a lot in 12 years on the job, but something about this one felt wrong. The fire hadn't just been meant to destroy evidence. It felt personal, overdone, angry. The first solid lead came Fraso.
She whispered, "Who were you smiling at, Jackie?" Then she hit pause, because in the corner of the frame, barely visible behind the rain, was something no one had noticed before. A second car, parked, engine running, lights off, the stranger in the parking lot. Detective Maria Holt froze the frame again. The glare from the rain-slicked windshield made it hard to see, but there was no mistaking it. A second vehicle, parked across the street from Fry Street Public House. The car didn't move for hours. When technicians enhanced the footage, they could see that the SUV Jackie entered, Charles Bryant's, left at 9:46 p.m. But that second car, it pulled out less than a minute later, trailing behind them for 2 blocks before turning off onto a service road near the freeway. Whoever was driving it wasn't random. Someone was watching them. Back at the precinct, Holt's partner, Detective Eric Vaughn, leaned over her desk. "You think Bryant wasn't alone that night?" Holt nodded slowly. "If he was being watched, either he knew it, or he didn't. But someone wanted to see where he went." They ran the plate number from the second car through the system. Nothing. No match. No record. Whoever it was, they knew what they were doing. Meanwhile, down in Fort Worth, officers knocked on the door of Bryant's small house. No answer. The blinds were drawn. A neighbor peeked from behind her curtain and whispered, "He was digging in the yard last night, said he was putting in a koi pond." That same yard, the one investigators would later find patches of scorched earth and faint tire tracks leading toward the back gate. When police finally entered with a warrant, they found what every detective dreads: the quiet normalcy that hides something unspeakable, a spotless living room, a half-eaten sandwich on the counter, and in the trash, a broken zip tie, a receipt from Walmart, and a single strand of long blonde hair. It wasn't Jackie's color. It matched someone else. The timeline began to unfold like a haunting puzzle. 8:12 p.m. Jackie arrives at Fry Street Public House. 9:00 p.m. She leaves with Bryant, seen on camera. 9:46 p.m. The mysterious second car follows. 4:03 a.m. Bryant's card is used at Walmart. He buys a shovel and lighter fluid. 6:27 a.m. A fire call is placed from Grapevine Lake. Holt stared at the clock on her wall. It took less than 10 hours from the moment Jackie met Bryant to the moment her remains were found. 10 hours to erase a life. But what about the second car? That night, detectives canvassed the entire Fry Street area, checking nearby businesses for more footage. They got lucky. A gas station camera caught the same car pulling in at 10:05 p.m. The driver's face wasn't visible, but they did see a figure step out. Tall, hooded, careful not to look up. They bought only one thing: a disposable phone. When investigators pinged Jackie's cell data, the last signal showed movement from Denton toward Fort Worth, then stopping near Bryant's home. After that, nothing. Until a text was sent from her number at 7:01 a.m. Never knew I could feel like this. But that wasn't Jackie. The timestamp was 34 minutes after the fire call. The next morning, Bryant showed up to work at his gym as if nothing happened. He even posted a photo on social media, sweaty, grinning, captioned, "Rise and grind." The detectives were closing in fast. At noon, when they brought him in for questioning, Bryant didn't flinch. "Yeah, I met her. She was nice. We had a drink. I dropped her off downtown. That's it." But when Holt placed a photo of the blue pool from the fire scene on the table, he swallowed hard. "We found one just like it in your yard," she said. "Except yours is gone now." He leaned back, forced a smirk. "You can't prove that." Holt smiled thinly. "We already did." Outside the interrogation room, Vaughn burst in with an update. They'd traced the burner phone purchased at the gas station. The first outgoing text was SE, but not to Jackie's contacts, but to Bryant's own number. "It's done." Bryant's expression didn't change, but his hands began to tremble.
"Who were you working with, Charles?" Holt asked quietly. He shook his head. "You don't understand," he muttered. "I wasn't supposed to meet her. She looked like someone else." "Who?" He stared at the table. "Caitlin." The name sent a chill through the room. The ex-girlfriend who had filed the restraining order. Was this random or revenge? Before Holt could press him further, a call came through from the field unit searching his car. They just found something in the trunk beneath the floor lining. A cell phone, Jackie's, and on the screen, a draft message never sent. The confession that wasn't. Before we close this case, make sure you subscribe, because the truth you're about to hear isn't just shocking, it's disturbing, and it could happen to anyone who lets their guard down for one night. Detective Holt had spent the last 12 hours inside the cold, fluorescent-lit interview room with Charles Bryant. He hadn't asked for a lawyer. He hadn't asked for water. He just sat there, smirking, staring at his reflection in the two-way mirror, as if trying to convince himself that he still had control. On the other side of the glass, Holt and Vaughn reviewed the evidence one last time. Jackie's phone, the shovel, the receipts, and the chilling connection between her and Caitlin, his ex. Vaughn's voice was low. He said she looked like Caitlin. Maybe he really believed that. Holt shook her head. Or maybe he wanted to. When she re-entered the room, Bryant was humming to himself, a faint, tuneless sound that filled the silence. "Charles," she said calmly, "we've confirmed the hair on the zip tie from your house belongs to Jackie." He tilted his head slightly, feigning confusion. "I don't even own zip ties." Holt slid a photo across the table, taken by crime scene technicians. "You used them to tie electrical cords in your gym. Same brand, same length." For the first time, his grin faltered. "You think this was an accident?" Holt said softly. "But accidents don't end with gasoline and a fire." Hours passed. They tried everything: logic, empathy, silence. Nothing cracked him, until Texas Ranger Jim Holland walked in. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just sat down across from Bryant, folded his arms and said, "Charles, I think you're scared." Bryant laughed, but it was hollow. "Scared? Of what?" "Of remembering," Holland said. You can't hide from what you did if you don't even know why. Brian's eyes darted toward there.
It's not over. He's still alive. I still check my locks every night. Months later, Holt drove past Grapevine Lake on her way home. The crime scene tape was gone, the trees had grown back, and the air smelled clean again. But the memory stayed. She pulled over, stepped out, and looked toward the water. The wind rippled through the reeds. For a second, she thought she saw a reflection. Jackie's smile, faint and fleeting, like she was finally free. The world moved on. But the story remained, a reminder that sometimes evil doesn't hide in dark alleys or deserted roads. Sometimes it's sitting beside you at the bar. If you thought this story was chilling, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and remember, never ignore the feeling that something isn't right, because sometimes that feeling is the only thing keeping you alive.